Hey, folks, good evening. It's Thursday, and welcome back to my man cave for another Thursday night live. I'm flying solo again. My wife is out of town and won't be back till tomorrow night. And brother Jeff is vacationing off the grid somewhere. He is he and his family are. I'm not sure where they are. I think they might be in the mountains in North Georgia, but he and his granddaughter were catching a mess of trout. He's been posting some pictures. So, welcome aboard, everybody. Russ, glad you could make it in with us. Uh, we're going to kick off just like we do every Thursday night. We're going to have a drink. I've been looking forward to this one all week. Even though my wife's been out of town all week, I haven't managed to open a bottle of bourbon all week. I've been kind of busy, but I think tonight, this bottle of Knob Creek 12-year-old that I have is getting close to being gone. So I think I'm gonna help it along tonight. I haven't seen that one in the store lately. Russ, glad you could join us with a Willet Rye on the rocks. Okay, and Ryan, glad you could make it in also. I'm just gonna get a pour of this Knob Creek going here. For a while, my local shop had this Knob Creek every time I went in there, and uh, it's they haven't had another one in here since. I think probably the next time I get into that bottle, it's going to be gone. And Knob Creek 12-year-old is good. I don't know if I'll buy it again because I'm kind of a fan of the Knob Creek. Let's see. That black label one right there behind me, that's the single barrel reserve. I'm a fan of that one. I like that one. And it's about the same price as this 12-year-old, but it's a little bit richer flavor down the line. So, Mike, Andrew, Carl, Fran's with us. Excellent. Happy Thursday. So, cheers, everybody. If you're having a drink, let me know what you're having. Mm, it's good stuff. That's how I like to kick off a Thursday. So, let's see. The first thing I want to do is in the comments here, if anybody would like to join me live, I'm going to post a link that you can follow. You'll just need a phone, a laptop, or a tablet with a camera and preferably earbuds to keep the vocal feedback in check. I'm willing to let anybody that'd like to come on and chat with us tonight come on live. So let's see. Jeffrey's asking about the smokebot. We're going to talk about it a little bit. I cooked a pork butt with the smokebot overnight last night, and I made video of that. I haven't edited that video yet, and I'm not sure if I'm going to get that video edited tomorrow or not. I've got some things going on tomorrow, but if I don't get it edited tomorrow, I'll get it edited and get it up on Monday or Tuesday of next week. But yeah, we'll look at that briefly again. I did a couple of things playing with the smokebot this week. So I've been having fun with that. That's a really cool little gadget. I haven't. I've got a. I've only come across one glitch so far. I'm having trouble figuring out how to get the alerts to work on my phone. I'm not getting any. I'm not getting any audible alerts on the phone. Let's see. We've got a victim here tonight. Jason Taylor. Jason, how are
How's
you?
it going, John?
It's going well. Thanks
It's
for
good
jumping
to.
in here with me.
Well, didn't want you to be lonely.
Yeah,
It's good to
but
see you
we're
back streaming.
yeah. I decided I put it down for a while, and I needed a reboot, and I think I've uh, come to some conclusions about what I'm going to do in the world of video. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm probably going to keep this going for a while. I'll just bite the bullet and foot the bill. This software is not real cheap to use it above the free level,
Yeah.
and I'm going to cut out part of what I was paying for before, but I think we're going to keep it going. And as far as my other video productions concerned, I think I'm pretty much going to stop making regular cooking videos and just make. I want to do product demo stuff, and I think
Yeah.
that's what I'm going to focus on that. I enjoy doing that. There won't be as much of it, and there won't be something every week because I won't have something to demo every week. But I'm going to kind of focus on that. This smokebot, I'm going to do some more content on it.
Yeah.
Those guys provided me with this unit, and I'm going to do at least 4 videos on it, and maybe 5. I've done 2 with the Kamado Joe so far. I did some beef ribs last week, and I did a pork butt overnight last night, and I'm thinking I might do another Kamado Joe video and let that thing run my Joe at about 500 degrees and cook a pizza. I mean,
That'd be interesting.
most of the people that are running something like this Smobot, most people, are doing low and slow barbecue with it, and it's
Right.
good at that. But this thing ought to handle a 500-degree pizza cook without any problem.
That'd be interesting, even for cooking steaks and stuff like that, right? And if you're set up with a primo or something like that, where you're half direct, half indirect, but you want to keep that temperature from going out of control, right? It'd
No,
be interesting to see
maybe
how it's play with that.
I'm a little different when it comes to steaks and direct fire cooking. I don't pay any attention to any temperature numbers when I'm direct fire cooking. It's
Yeah,
I know a lot of people want to do that, and that's fine. You got to do it the way you like to do it. But when I'm searing, when I'm cooking a steak, there's 2 temperatures that matter. There's the temperature right over the hotbed of coals, and
yep,
there's the temperature right on the indirect side of
right,
indirect heat. And I don't really care what the numbers are. I'm concerned with direct heat and indirect heat when I'm
yep,
cooking steaks.
yeah.
Uh,
But for pizzas, for sure, holding steady
well,
is
pizzas, I like most of the pizzas that I cook when I'm making my own dough, which I do most
yeah,
of the time. I like to cook most of those in the 5 to 600 degree range. Anywhere in there is fine. Uh,
yeah.
I've gotten away from messing with Neapolitan cooks on the Kamado Joe. It's capable of it. I'm just not real comfortable running my Joe that hot.
Yeah,
Uh, it's The Joe will do it, but I don't like some of the things I see going on with the Joe when I've got it that hot.
yeah,
The,
certainly.
Even if the bands are tight, when you start cooking, they loosen up when they get that hot, and I've seen them get loose enough that it bothered me.
Yeah.
So,
So I what, about 6 months ago, something like that, maybe closer to a year now, I got a Gosney dome, and
right.
that's been great. In fact, we had it going for a few hours last Friday
Mhm.
night, and just doing pizza after pizza.
Right.
950, 960,
Yep.
and you turn the flame off in that thing, and the roof is just glowing red for
Yeah.
a couple hours. And then you're
Right.
thinking like, wow, what's that doing to my Kamado? That wasn't necessarily built for that.
Yeah. The Gosney dome's a really cool device, and if I had one of those, I would be running it solely on gas. After having had 2 different Alpha wood-fired ovens here, I enjoyed cooking on both of those, but I would
Yeah.
appreciate the gas much more than the wood-fired for pizzas.
I've
Um,
done both. I've done
yeah.
both. I'd say the results are similar. I like cooking with the wood a little bit more because
Mhm.
I actually like the fact that I have a little bit longer to make adjustments, right?
Right.
With the gas, it's really quick, and their control on the gas is probably. I've got 2 complaints with the thing. The control on the gas is pretty binary. It's either all on or all off, even though it's got a little scale for how much gas you've got going through. There's not
Yep.
much of a difference. And with a wood fire, I can
Mhm.
fine tune it a little bit more to what my dough is going to tolerate and stuff like
Right.
that. So, yeah, and then the other thing is, I unlike a Kamado where you can close it all up and you got a spark arrestor and stuff like that, I do
Yep.
worry about smoldering embers in there and a little bit of wind, and I'm on a wood deck and all of that.
Yep. Absolutely. I'm thinking about buying this this Camp Chef Woodwind Pro 24 pellet grill that I have, that I bought the, if you, I don't know if you've seen this thing or not. It's
Yeah.
a regular size, basic size pellet grill, but I bought this attachment for it called the Sidekick, which is a 30,000 BTU burner that sits on the right hand side of the grill. And there's some accessories that go with that. I have the griddle that goes on it, the 14
Yeah.
inch griddle, and I have what's called the sear box, which is like a grill grate with a lid that turns it into basically a 14-inch gas grill.
Oh,
And
okay.
they make a pizza oven that fits on that I'm going to have to get, because I think I can probably pull Neapolitan pizza off of that without
Well,
having to
that'd be
worry about.
interesting.
Yeah,
That'd be interesting to see if you
I'm
can.
going to buy that accessory at some point. I just haven't bought it yet. So
Well, there you go. And then it gives you another gadget to do a video review
right,
on,
yeah,
right?
I'll do video on that when I get that. I'm going to pull some pictures up here to talk about a couple of things I did this week, and of course that's the wrong screen. So this is something I wanted to show. I snagged this off the I think I got this out of the Kamado Joe
I saw that
Facebook group
one.
today. This is something I specifically want to talk about, because I think what you see here illustrates exactly how these pizza stones get broken. The owner of this pizza stone said that he had only cooked on it like 3 times, and as you can see, it's pretty white still, so it hasn't really got a lot of mileage on it, but there's a lot of crud there on it. And one of the things that I firmly believe, I haven't had it happen because I don't let that kind of buildup get on mine. I'll scrape it off. But that kind of buildup, what happens when you have buildup that thick on there, it causes very uneven heating of that stone. And uneven heating on a stone like that is exactly what causes it to break. The stone underneath this, whatever this crud is that's built up on here, this crud is blocking the heat. It's like
Especially when you think about when you've got a dirty stone
yeah,
or anything else like that, that how do you clean that off? You fire it up, gradually bringing your heat up, and you've got to get 500-600 degrees for some sustained time to get all of that crud off.
well, that I wouldn't even, before I put that on the heat, I'm going to take a scraper and scrape all of that off that I can get off before I put it in the heat. Because even at that, if you brought it up slowly, you might have a better chance of not breaking that stone. But if this stone went this side down, the side that you see, if it went that side down to the flame, I can see exactly why that broke. And if you look, it broke right in between those two
Yeah, that's a
big
good point.
crud messes on there. So I'm pretty sure that's what caused that to break. And I just wanted to bring that up and talk about it, because I've seen a lot of broken pizza stones, and during my entire time of having Kamado Joe equipment, I've broken one pizza stone and I've broken 2 heat deflectors, and each one of those is because I didn't even drop them. I was walking with them and just banged them up against something and broke
Yeah,
them. I
yeah.
have never broken one of these things in the heat. Now, I'm not saying that it's impossible to do so, because I see a lot of it. I see a lot of these broken stones that this I can't always use what I'm showing you here as an explanation for it. But guys, if you're using high heat to clean your stones, if you've got one that's got a lot of crud on it like that, get something like a paint scraper or a I don't know what would be the best tool. You could use one of your wire grill brushes and just get as much of that crud off of there as you can by hand before you throw it in the fire. And you might save yourself from what you see right here. That's just one of those things.
I'm in the same boat as you. I've the only 2 heat deflectors I've ever broken were same thing.
Mhm.
Set it down a little too hard on the ground or hit something else, hit the edge of the table coming out, that sort of thing. And
Yep.
Kablam.
These Kamado Joe stones and deflectors are they're extremely durable.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of inferior pizza stones in my life prior to my experience with Kamado Joe, and none of them will stack up to this. And I think there are only maybe just a couple options on the market that are any better than Kamado Joe. But
what do you think? What do you think of the Fred stone?
I've seen it, but I don't have one.
I haven't cooked on one. I bought one as a gift for a friend, and I'm waiting to hear what they said about it.
I'm curious about it. I'm curious about the material that it's made from, but
it's really lightweight.
Yeah, it is lightweight, but what I'm curious about is if it's got any thermal mass and how well the fact that it's lightweight throws up a red flag for me when it comes to cooking pizza. I know the stone's probably never going to break from heat, but the thing is it's going to me, in my mind, when I think about how a pizza stone works, that lack of weight, I don't understand the thermal properties of it. That thing's got to have some amount of thermal mass to cook that pizza and not give up the heat that it has quickly when you throw a pizza down on it. That's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons these pizza steels, these baking steels, are so popular, because they've got even more thermal potential than the stones do.
Yeah, I am curious with it though. Of like one of the things that we debate about in my house is, a Neapolitan pizza should not have a crispy crust on the bottom, right? It should just have some fold to it and that sort of thing. And I wonder if using something like a Fred stone, with it being a little bit more porous, if you're going to get a little bit more heat on the bottom in something where you've got the heat source underneath, and if you're going to get a little bit of a crispier bottom on it, but Neapolitan style on the top, which would be like the perfect blend for everybody's preferences in my house.
You can always tweak your crust texture by tweaking the amount of water that's going in the dough for the time you're cooking. The typical Neapolitan pizza doughs are 58 to 60% hydration. And if that comes out with more crisp or more crunch than you like, you can up the water by just maybe 1% on the next one. And as long as your cook time's relatively the same, your texture should just change minimally. But the water content in your dough, coupled with the time that it's on the stone, is what's going to develop that texture. So, yeah, the Fred stone intrigues me. I don't have one. I looked at it, and I didn't buy it when I looked at it. I don't even remember what they cost now, but if I'm remembering correctly, they weren't terribly expensive.
They're like 100 some, I think.
Yeah, but no, maybe that's something I'll look at down the road. That might be a good item to do a demo on.
Worst case scenario, you've got some more pizza to eat.
Yeah, there's never too much of that.
Too much. That's right.
Has anybody found anything interesting in their charcoal bags lately? Jason, this is like a rite of passage for Kamado owners to post pictures of what they find in their charcoal bags that's not charcoal.
And to me, though, what I'm dying to know is, what was it? And I really hope it was like Busch Light. That'd make it even better.
Well, it probably wasn't, because, well, I guess it depends on whose charcoal it is, but most of the premium charcoal that people are paying big money for these days is coming out of South America. So it might not be Busch Light.
This right here says Royal Oak. Where's Royal Oak coming out of?
Royal, that does say Royal Oak. Royal Oak's made here in the U.S. and it's made down in Georgia, if I remember correctly. I think Royal Oak's based out of Georgia. I love Royal Oak, and I know people like to bang on Royal Oak. People don't like it, but that's my go-to lump charcoal these days. When I'm buying my own, that's what I buy. And when I did charcoal testing on my own, Royal Oak and Rockwood both outperformed everything else I tested. Royal Oak and Rockwood gave almost identical results in the tests I did.
Yeah.
And the South American hardwood lumps, the Fogo, the Jealous Devil, the Kamado Joe Big Block, those charcoals didn't burn as hot or as long as Royal Oak and Rockwood.
Yeah.
The results I got were almost identical between Royal Oak and Rockwood, and Rockwood is about 3 times the price of Royal Oak. But
But you made a good point a couple weeks ago. I saw you address the big debate about the size of the lump, right? And that's
mhm,
why a lot of people are buying these premium brands, because you get Fogo or whatever, you get these huge chunks
yeah,
in there. And
mhm,
and I agree with you. It's one of the basics of you learn how to light the fire the right way, and it doesn't matter if you've got small lump or big
yeah.
lump for the most
Well,
part.
it's just another one of those things that people use as a metric to determine whether or not the charcoal's any good or not. I would I would love to show people the charcoal baskets in both of my Kamado Joes out here, because I don't sort charcoal. Uh, when I'm finished with a cook, I shut the vents and let it snuff out. And when I get ready to go cook again, I open the grill, lift out the ash basket, take it out over my yard somewhere and shake the
Yeah.
ash out of it, set it right back in the grill, and then we dump more lump in there and keep going.
Yeah.
Russ,
Well,
what are you up to, buddy?
What's up, John? How you doing?
Good. How's life on the Gulf Coast?
Well, it's raining and thundering and lightning right this moment.
Well, we've had 7 inches of rain here since Monday evening.
Yeah, these afternoon thunder boomers, man, it's been bad.
wow.
Yeah, we're just shooting the crap here tonight. We've got Jason here with us. Jeff, the guy that's normally on with me, is not. He's kind of off the grid in a bad coverage area on vacation, and my
Okay.
wife's out of town too. So, have you found anything out of the ordinary in your lump charcoal lately, Russ?
No, not that I can say. Which I don't use lump a whole lot. I did use it yesterday on a cook. That was, I think it was Royal Oak, something
Yeah.
my wife had bought, but
Uh-huh.
I didn't notice anything in it other than a lot of dust. you
Yeah.
know.
Well, John, we were just talking about how you go from one cook to another. I don't know if you've got it in your slide deck tonight, but I shared out a picture the other night of what I had left after a
Mhm.
cook, and
Yeah.
just went out there and shook the same thing as you, just shook the ash out, relit it, and we were good to go.
That's one of the things I like about lump is I have zero waste. I don't throw it, the only waste I have is what might be small enough that falls through the ash basket, and
Yep.
those are not a big deal. Here's another thing I wanted to discuss briefly this week. I've been seeing a lot of this come up for you Kamado Joe owners. I want all of you to take a moment soon and have a look at the wheels on your cart. uh, I've seen a lot of this lately, and I've had this on mine, and it's a problem. This picture right here is the old style cartwheel, which this caster is better in one way than the newer ones, but it's worse in another. These wheels on here over time, they break apart and fall off. The rubber part on these casters disintegrates. And on the newer ones, on the 3 series, on the uh, I guess this is on the 3 series. Yeah, this is the 3 series grill. This is one of mine. Uh, the wheels themselves appear to be better quality, but these casters rust like nothing I've ever seen. And I had a problem with this. This is one of the casters on my Classic 3. It's kind of hard to see from this angle, but that thing's sitting on there wonky. And
Yep.
Uh,
this caster, this bolt that goes up through there, it screws into a plate that's up underneath this sheet metal that you can't see. And on mine, the plate had just broken off. And that's not a repairable thing. You have to replace the whole cart when that happens. So during that process, I decided that I'm gonna fix this problem. I bought some good quality 5-inch casters that I'm hoping are gonna outlive me on these grills. We'll see.
That's exactly what we use on our grill carts that we sell. The difference is, instead of having your threaded rod insert, ours has got a plate with four bolts that mount on, but otherwise the same. And those guys right there do an incredible job. They hold up really well.
But each one of these is a locking caster, and they being 5 inches, they raise your grill height just a little, but these will roll over anything.
They roll so nice, don't they? It's like it's like floating on a cloud.
When I got my replacement cart for the one I showed you that the mount was broken, I just put these on it. I didn't put the ones that came on there, and that's what that looks like. And I also here's a little bit closer up picture of how that mounts on there. And I did the same thing on my Classic 2. I decided to go ahead and replace all 4 of the wheels on the Classic 2 while I was doing that, and I'm totally happy with this setup.
And it's cheaper than replacing a broken Kamado Joe when it tips over, when that thing breaks off as you're rolling it.
Right, but these casters, I think I paid $38 for each of those 4 sets. I got about $80, I guess, in replacement casters for those, but that's how that's panning out. These look good, you know. They're solid.
Hey, and they're the right color.
Well, here's one little bit of information I'll tell you. On the Classic 2 cart series, I should have taken a closer up picture of these. This bolt that comes up through here, it actually hits on that curved piece of iron before it seats in all the way, but I've not had any problems with that so far. In order to resolve that, it might need a washer, a thick washer or something on the underside of it to give you the best possible mount, but I'm not having any issues with it as is. None of those are twisting out on me, but I don't move mine that much. In fact, after I put these on here and move that grill off the deck onto my concrete out here, I haven't moved the grill again since then, but it'll roll. I could probably roll that guy through the yard with a little effort.
Yeah.
So back to talking about charcoal again and the smokebot. I decided to do a little test this week. I like to do this, and I like to post about it simply because it pisses people off and it makes people ask questions. Briquettes are kind of taboo in the Kamado world, but I still cook with briquettes in my Kamados occasionally. I don't do it. Well, I might do it 25% of the time, and I use these B&B briquettes, these big ones. So with the smokebot, I decided I was going to weigh out 5 pounds of briquettes and put them in my Classic 3. And when I'm using smaller amounts of charcoal, I use a smaller sized ash basket in the bottom of the Kamado to hold all that together where they burn better. So I put 5 bricks in there, and I used one of my torches and lit those bricks and got them nice and hot, and then put the rest of the bricks in on top of it and set the smokebot up to run the Kamado at 250. Do you want to take a guess at how long 5 pounds of those briquettes ran before the temperature started falling off?
8 hours.
Russ says 8. Jason?
I'm gonna say 3.5.
3.5. Well, this is what was left behind when I was done 15 hours later.
Whoa. Wow,
that's impressive.
Yeah.
So I figured here that we got up to temp at 4:25 in the afternoon, and it was 5:05. Let's see. No, at 5:05. I was explaining this dip here in this graph. I forgot to put the heat deflectors back in after I set it up, so I opened up here to put the heat deflectors back in the grill. But out here, we're out here at about right at about 8 a.m. So I'm looking here at about 8:30 a.m. roughly.
Wow.
As
I would say that's one of the most steady time temp charts I've ever seen. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Well, there's no fan involved with the smokebot, but this
Wait, is jury still out? Like, because I was going to ask you, what do you think does a better job of control, the smokebot or a fan unit?
well, you have to define better in order to answer that question. Each type of system has its advantages. The
Mm-hmm.
advantage that Smobot has is you're not using a fan and you're not inefficiently burning charcoal. When you've got a fan running, when you've got a
Right.
fan blowing into your coal, you're going to burn it faster than you normally would. It's not going to burn the coal as efficiently as this one will, because this one's only using natural draft.
One's a gas pedal, one's a brake pedal.
Right. The advantage of the fan systems is if I'm running at 250 and want to go to 500, I can be there in less than 5 minutes with a fan. In most cases, I can get there quickly. So the fan has that advantage. And when I look at the debates in the groups, when people are having pissing contests about which system's better, those are the two major things that I see coming up. The Smobot community likes their efficient. They're saving money on charcoal or whatever. That's their target there. But
so does the Smobot? Is it out like a valve, kind of like open and closes, just to let the natural draft?
I'll show you a picture of it here in a second, Russ. Let's see.
I have to say, from kind of an engineering and nerdy standpoint as well, with how the Smobot works, it's a little more impressive. It takes a little bit more ingenuity to do what it does over blowing a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hang on a second. Now I've got a picture that I can show Russ of what the Smobot looks like up top down here. Russ, it's this guy right here. It's a servo controlled top vent.
Oh, okay.
And that's all it does. That's how this thing controls the temperature in the grill. You have to know where you're going to put your bottom vent for whatever temperature that you want to cook at. But this thing regulates the airflow by making micro adjustments with this servo motor on this top vent. And they sent me this chimney piece that's a chimney replacement for this size Kamado. But if you've got the old style, or if you've got a big green egg with the cast iron daisy wheel vent, this thing just replaces the daisy wheel top, and it mounts right on that cast iron. And they also sent me the stuff I need to use this on my Weber kettle. So I'm going to do some video content with that on the Weber kettle as well. So it's kind of cool.
I could see the Weber really benefiting from that.
It's one of these things that tweaked my inner geek when I started really looking at what that is, and it's got this cool factor to it that I kind of like.
Yeah, and that graph don't lie. It was sitting there. Which Kamado's ride real even anyway. It's one of the few things. It's one of the few things I know that can hold constant temps that well. Even your stove in your kitchen fluctuates, 10, 15, 20 degrees.
Yeah, the Kamado, though, even in the best of situations, there are some situations where the Kamado will go off track with you. It doesn't happen frequently, but it'll happen. Sometimes what I've noticed in my experience, because I did hundreds and hundreds of cooks on Kamado grills before I ever had any kind of controller, I fully know how to run one of these things without a computer help. I just enjoy the advantages of using systems like this now. But I ran some overnight cooks before, and most commonly the problem I would have was the temperature would not get away from me on the high side. I would always end up lower than I wanted because of a shift in the charcoal overnight that would block up the airflow, and I would end up with less airflow than I had when I thought I had it stable. And that was also, some of that was also before I had charcoal baskets. When I was using that those perforated cast iron grates at the bottom. Russ, you're familiar with those.
They're bad about it. Yeah.
Yeah, they would choke up, and you couldn't do that with briquettes.
Right.
But, yeah, when you're using, if you've got an ash basket and you've got a fan controller, I did a test many years ago with my original Kamado Joe. I filled that firebox up with Kingsford. I put as much Kingsford in there as I could stuff in it, and I ran that thing at 250 degrees for like 38 hours with a fan controller. But without the fan, it never would have made it.
Yeah. Right.
Because I got I got 2 Kamados worth of ash out of it when I was done.
I personally think that charcoal briquettes, just being briquettes and all the same size, would run more even over lump anyway, you know.
Well, they do. They don't run as hot as lump, just by the nature of how they are.
Yeah.
You can't, they're not as what's the word I'm looking for here? One of the reasons there's so much ash left behind from briquettes is because of the materials they put in there to hold them together. They're not
the binder. Yeah.
The binders are not combustible. That's why there's so much left behind. Every bit of weight in a piece of hardwood lump charcoal is combustible, and it's got BTU potential. So a 1 pound of lump will produce more heat over the same period of time than 1 pound of briquettes. There's no arguing that.
Yeah.
And it produces very little ash. You know, if you burn 5 pounds of lump charcoal, you've got a cup of ash left behind.
Yeah.
I probably had a quart of ash left behind, you know, or more even.
Yeah.
It makes a mess. But last night I fired up. I bought a 9-point-some pound pork butt, and I set up the classic to do my pork butt technique. This is what I call my perfect pork butt technique, and it's the only technique I use on pork butts anymore. I set up to run at 200 degrees, and while that grill was coming up to temperature, I scored this thing and I seasoned it with some of my homemade pork rub, tossed it on, closed it up, and this is 12 hours later. I don't even open the grill for 12 hours. And at this point, 12 hours in, my internal temperature of that thing's about 155. We'll see some pictures of that here in a minute. I made some screenshots of the web interface to this as I was going, but this is not ready to move to the next step. My bark's not fully where I want it. So at the 12-hour point, I open up and let the temperature come up to 300 degrees. So after I did that, a little bit later, my bark was where I wanted it in this picture. So, and the internal temperature here, I think, was up around somewhere between 170 and 175 at this stage. And then I just wrapped it up, and I finished it, and I think I was 205 or 206 internally when I took this off, and I left it I let it rest in the cooler for about 3 hours before I yanked it out and pulled it apart, and it produces beautiful pulled pork. And this technique always gives me a cook time that lands between 14 and 16 hours like clockwork. I never go outside of that, so I can always plan for when that guy's going to be in the cooler and resting, so it's going to be ready to pull or serve whenever I need it. And it just always works as long as I'm using a 9 or 10 pound butt.
Yeah.
But this smokebot, there's a phone app that you can use, and it's Wi-Fi connected, but you can also use a web interface on a web browser. So when I'm going to capture pictures that I want to show online, I always use the web interface because it's a bigger and easier picture to see. But this is what it looked like when I fired it up. Right when I put the butt on, I lit the grill. I set it for 205 here and let it come up to temperature, and it rode at temperature for just a little bit. My grill wasn't fully heat soaked yet, but I went ahead and opened it up, put the butt on, and I put the meat probe in, and the meat probe showing 40 degrees. That butt had been sitting out on my prep table in here for maybe an hour and a half before I actually got it out there. And I set a grill temperature alert, and the way the grill temperature alert works on the smokebot is you don't set a high and a low. You give it a number. You give it, like I gave it 30 degrees, and what that does is it sets up an alert. So if my temperature goes 30 below or 30 above my set point, I'm going to get an alert. That's how that works. And when you come back to that screen, it shows you've got an alarm bell here, and it says plus or minus 30 by the alarm bell. So here we are out here at that 12-hour mark. You can see, that grill rode at temperature all night long. It rode for 12 hours there, and it looks like my meat temperature there was 156 at this point. And out here at the end, you can see that black line shoot up out here at the end. That's where I raised the set temp up to 300 degrees, and it's showing that up here also.
Hey, John, so go back to the previous picture there. So it said 100% damper, and then on the next one I see it says 17. Is that 100% closed? Is that what that means?
No, it's 100% open.
Open. Okay, yeah.
One of the things here is that percentage is deceiving, and I talked about that last week. It's not a percentage of how much the damper is actually open or closed.
How much of its range it's using?
Yes.
Okay.
It's 0 to 100 of the range, but when this thing is showing like 35%, that's the very beginning of being fully closed. And 100, I don't know what it looks like on the upper end, but this is where I'd raised it to 300 degrees from 205. So it's got that vent fully open, letting the draft flow. And the reason we're seeing red up here is because we're outside of my my set temp. I had set that plus or minus 30 alert.
Right.
And I got outside that when I had the grill open and whatnot. And it's given me an alert there that we're out of range. So on the next screen, I'd reset that alert. And I'd cleared that alert, and I did not set a new one.
Okay.
Out here. And out here, you can see where I got it up to 300 degrees. And at this point, I'm starting to look at it occasionally, checking it. Because when I get close to where I want to be, I always keep my eye on it. I never, ever, ever depend on a thermometer of anybody's building to let me know when my meat's ready. I got to feel it, Yeah. You guys know that. Russ, I know you know that.
Yeah.
It's got to be it's got to be the right probe tender, and you got to have the right bar.
All meats are not created equal,
Yeah.
200 degrees on one pork butt's not going to feel like 200 degrees on the next one all the time. So you got to be looking at it. So that's what we're doing out here.
I still get so many comments. People like, well, how long did you cook them ribs? I cooked mine for 4 hours and they were still tough. I'm like, man, I don't go by time, and I don't go by temperature on ribs and pulled pork and brisket. I go by probe tenderness.
Russ, this is what I'm going to start doing to you. Every time you post something, I'm going to come in and I'm going to post a comment, and it's just going to say time and temp with question mark on it. How about that?
There you go.
Are you used to seeing that? Have you ever seen that before?
I don't think. No.
Time and temp. If it was just that simple, everybody could do it.
Yeah.
So this
they don't think about that. That was a 10-pound pork butt. What if you had an 8-pound pork butt or a 6-pound? You can't go by time for sure.
And like what temperature was it when it went in?
Yeah, exactly. And plus, if 205, 206, that might be a tender pork butt on one pork butt, but another cut, like real fatty one, it might be ready to pull at 199, 198,
The fattier they are, the lower temperature they're going to finish at. I've learned that.
Yeah.
I've learned that as well. Russ, have you ever cooked one of the Snake River Farms Gold Wagyu briskets?
I ordered a brisket from them a few years ago. I think it was a black label, though. I don't think it was the gold one. It was good, though, man.
Did it finish up at a lower temperature than you expected?
I really don't remember. It's been a couple of years ago, but
Yeah.
there again, I went by probe tenderness on it. When it felt right, I pulled it,
Mhm.
but I
Well,
can't remember.
I've done some of these low temperature 24-hour cooks, and those things finish up at around 190.
Oh, well, yeah, I just did a brisket here probably 3 months ago on my old hickory,
Mhm.
and I run it at 225 the entire cook because I knew it was going to be an overnight cook where we could
Right.
sleep. I never wrapped it until I was ready to rest it, and
Yeah.
that brisket went 18 to 19 hours, and it was ready to carve or ready to pull off at 197. You know,
Right.
and normally my briskets hit 210 before they're ready.
Any time I have something run longer than 16 hours, whether it be a butt or a brisket, I always expect and know usually that it's going to finish up well short of 200 degrees. You got to watch them.
Yeah,
But here
and
on this red line here, I repositioned my meat probe at that point on a pork butt. When I lay that thing in there, that scapula bone's laying flat. It's laying parallel to my grill. And when I put that meat probe in, I put it in at an angle until I hit that bone, and then I pull it back about a half an inch because that's going to be the last. Typically, that's going to be the last place on that pork butt that gets tender. And
yeah,
when I was checking, when I checked at that point right there, that part was tender, but another part a little further back wasn't ready yet. This one was showing about 204 at that point, and I had another piece right behind it that was only showing about 196, and it was definitely a good bit firmer. So I put the probe into that point, wrapped it back up, and let it keep going. And here you can see I moved that probe another time before I actually pulled that guy off of there. And this is my last picture, but that's what the graph looks like. And this smokebot's got an ambient probe, but it does have two meat probes you can attach, so you can look at two different pieces of meat at the same time. But in a nutshell, that's how the smokebot works, and it's kind of interesting. I'm having a good time playing with it, and I'm going to run some additional things on it. Like I was saying earlier, I'm probably going to throw a pizza on it next week, maybe, and do a 500-degree cook with the smokebot before I take it off and move it to the Weber kettle. I'm going to run it
Fun
on.
toy.
I'm going to do something on the 26-inch kettle. I don't know. I don't know exactly what I'm going to do. I might just do beef ribs again because one fact of life here in the man cave is there's no such thing as too much beef ribs.
oh, I heard it. You drinking
Yeah.
bourbon tonight, John?
Yes, sir, Russ. I've got the Knob Creek out tonight.
I bought some yesterday. That's actually it's made right here in Kiln, Mississippi. Probably
Mm-hmm.
about a 45-minute drive from me, but it's can you see that? It's
Yep.
Cut
called
above.
Cut Above,
Yeah,
and
I'm
I
not
haven't
familiar
tried
with
it
it.
yet, as you can see.
It's a
But
bottle and bond. It's going to be yep, 100. That's going to be 100 proof bourbon.
yep,
This yeah. How do you like it?
I haven't even opened the seal yet. I'm
Oh,
gonna
well,
probably
what are
wait
you
till
waiting
tomorrow.
on?
I'll probably wait till tomorrow. I'm drinking beer tonight.
Russ is not a weeknight bourbon guy like I am.
No, I'm not. Every now and then I'll. My wife has got a liquor cabinet in the back with so many. We're talking about all kind of different Crown Royals, still in the box, never been opened. I'm like,
Yeah.
what are you holding on to that for? She goes, don't you worry about it. It's mine. She don't even hardly drink. I said, oh well. So if things ever get bad enough, I guess we can barter with all the whiskey back there.
What's new on your porch, Russ?
I got a Harvest Right freeze dryer coming in Monday.
Oh boy.
Yeah, buddy, and I'm looking forward to it, man. Just playing around with it, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna do probably a series on freeze drying and basically like not prepping but being prepared, especially in today's climate with the way things are going.
Yeah.
Just start putting you some food back because I'm sure everybody remembers 2020 when everything was flying off the shelves, this, that, and the other, and you just don't want to be caught with your pants down, you know.
Don't tell me you're going to get caught with your pants down and start freeze drying toilet paper.
I tell you what, I seen this other day. They got these toilet paper tablets you can get. I'm like, what? And anyway, they expand into like toilet paper.
Oh boy!
Oh,
You get a
man.
bottle of them.
The only thing I was worried about shortage wise during the pandemic was toilet paper.
Yeah, us too, because we ran out, and my wife had some friend loan us some, and finally they got it back in stock. Man, we
Well,
stocked up on it.
luckily, I didn't run out. I had just bought one of these huge packages of it at Sam's Club
Yeah.
before there was a run on it. And what I did, and to this day, I don't regret this, but we bought a bidet and I installed a bidet. And boy, I'm not, don't regret that for a minute.
I hear you.
Yeah.
We only ran into just kind of random little stuff that we couldn't find, because it's kind of like it'll just happen to be we had been to Sam's Club and stocked up on some stuff, and there you go.
I couldn't
got
afford
some-
a
I keep
bidet,
those
so I
around
just
too,
got
though.
me 2 packs of these.
Yeah. I've got some of those too. I buy those at Walmart.
Yeah, that's where those come
Yeah.
from.
So, yeah.
Well, this took a direction.
Yeah. It wasn't the food we were worried about. It was the butts, the real butts.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Something different, man. It's like I'm just getting bored with barbecue and everything. I've done everything so many times. I'm just going to take a whole swing to a whole nother direction.
There you go.
And
I only know 2 people so far that have had those things. And does Greg still have his?
he's got 2 of them. Yeah.
Does he?
Which he
Well,
does a lot of hiking and stuff like that. And they're
Right.
perfect for that sort of thing, But what amazes me is the flavor is preserved.
Mhm.
97% of the nutrients is preserved. Fruits and things like that, it retains all of its color. And 25
Yeah.
years later, you can still eat this stuff,
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So if you got a vacuum sealer, if you got a good vacuum sealer, Russ,
I still got my, oh crap, I can't even see the label on it. VacMaster BP210. I still
there you
got it.
go. That's a good one.
Yeah.
So just, that's something you're going to want to have with your freeze dried stuff.
Well, it comes with the Mylar bag, which it only comes
Yep.
with 50, but it's got a sealer bar. You don't really pull a vacuum on
Right. I guess you don't.
No, you get these oxygen absorbers
Right.
that you drop in the bag right before you
If you
seal it.
If you put too much vacuum on something that's freeze dried, it would powder it for you.
It does.
Probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was
I
watching
didn't think
one
about that.
I was watching
Yeah.
one of Greg's videos, and he was first talking about it. He goes, "Yeah, I found out you could vacuum seal these Mylar bags." So he had some hamburger patties that were 3 years old that he sucked down, and he said what it done is it changed the texture. It's pushed them too much.
Yeah.
If he had left it the way it was designed to be, then it would have had better texture. It'd been more like a fresh hamburger,
Right.
So,
but Darren Wilson had one down in Florida, had one of those also, and that's how he got into doing the blueberry stuff for the rubs that he's making.
oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, John, you convinced me to get a vacuum sealer a few months ago, and now we bought a small one. What's the company? The same company that makes the what I call it, the sous vide stuff.
Oh, you got the Anova?
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Are you having problems with it?
No, it's been okay. There's just you've got to make sure that you get in the little vacuum channel it's got in there. But what's nice about it is it's fairly portable. So we go every summer to northern Wisconsin for a vacation, and we were just up there a couple of weeks ago. And one of our favorite places, there's this old smokehouse. All they do is smoked fish, and they sell it by the pound, and it's just amazing stuff. So this year we were prepared. We went in, we bought 20 pounds of fish, went back to our hotel condo and vacuum sealed it all, threw it in the freezer there, and brought it home.
What part of Wisconsin? How far up?
Door County.
Okay, I was in Iola, Wisconsin about a year ago, almost a year ago. And I don't know if this is far north. Boy, it's pretty up there. I know that.
Yeah, this is the peninsula that sticks up in between Green Bay and Lake Michigan. So
Okay.
it's about 20 miles wide at the most and about 40 miles long, and you got water on both sides and around the point and all that. It's absolutely breathtakingly beautiful, and they got good smoked fish. So what more? And a lot of breweries. So what more could you ask for?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Exactly. I love smoked fish. I love to smoke fish too.
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah. And it's
I've
just
done
one of
some
those.
cold smoked salmon that's just been off the hook.
Yeah. Well, a lot of what they do up there is, they got some imported salmon and they smoke that, but a lot of local catch stuff. So it's all, lake trout and Great Lakes whitefish.
Yep.
And so it's good stuff.
That
So
cracked
Russ,
me
what
up.
else have you got that's new besides your freeze dryer?
I guess the latest thing after that was Old Hickory. I've had it now probably about 3 months,
Yeah.
and then that's about it. I'm not
Hey,
taking any new smokers or anything unless it's something I'm really wanting, And
is the Old Hickory the one that's a gas wood combo?
it could be gas wood or it can be charcoal and wood. It can be either. I've yet to do charcoal wood. That gas, man, it's got the convenience of a pellet grill, but the flavor of an offset or better. I
Right.
think it lays smoke
Okay.
on there. Like,
Yeah, I've seen those. Doesn't Malcolm Reed cook on one of those?
he's got a CTO, that he uses. I think he used to use them in all his comps. I know that.
Right.
But the biggest people that use them are restaurants. They use them big commercial double door. They're all over the world, man. This, and after tasting what's came off of there, I'm like, holy crap, man! I thought nothing could beat an offset, and
Yeah.
wrong.
There's one of the barbecue shops that I love so much that's just right down the road from the house here. They've got an Old Hickory, and it's huge. I think they can put 400 pounds of butts in that thing at one time. It's a monster.
Yeah, they make all types. They got some with rotisseries in it. Some are whole hog cookers.
Right.
I think they make 22 different models, and only 2 of those, or maybe 3 of those, are considered residential. Like mine, I've got the Ultra Q, and the only difference between the Ultra Q and the CTO is a little bit taller,
right,
and the control box is off to the side of it, but it's a little bit wider anyway inside the chamber, and it has a convection fan. Mine is small enough to where it does have a fan to maintain the temperature and keep the wood burning. That's all you got in there, like a stick of wood, and it maintains temp. And if it drops down, then gas kick in. And when the gas kicks in, it runs seriously 4 to 5 seconds, right back out. Your wood is mainly firing off that. So it's a wood smoker, is what I'm trying to say, but assisted by gas.
Sam's asking if we got any good recipes for smoked salmon, and since he's asked that, one of the things I've been playing with this smokebot, see how low a temperature I can run either my Kamado or maybe the Weber kettle, and I think with briquettes, I might be able to, a small amount of briquettes, I might be able to run the Kamado at 150. And if I can run the Kamado that low, I will definitely do some content on a smoked salmon, because I like to smoke the salmon as low as possible.
Cold smoke. You do a cure on it? A cure on a salmon?
I do. I do a 24-hour, or well, I guess it's maybe about a 12-hour cure, and then I pull it out, rinse it off, and let it dry enough to form a pellicle on it before I put it in the smoke. But it's not I don't know if I could technically call it a cold smoke. I could cold smoke it with a cold smoker, but if I do it this way, I'm going to be smoking somewhere in the 150-degree neighborhood, which is typically a little warmer than a cold smoke for a salmon would be. But
you could always use I'm saying it because I've done it on bacon, but just use a smoke tube with pellets.
Yeah, that's what I do with my bacon. Yeah. I have completely switched over to cold smoking bacon. I never let the bacon get over 100 degrees. Right. And that produces the best results on bacon I've ever got.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to render any of that fat at all when I'm smoking the bacon. I want that fat to render when I'm cooking the bacon. So,
If you got a drum smoker, you put that tube all in the bottom of that thing
yeah,
and have a rack up top to lay your salmon on.
yeah.
John, you probably recall when we talked about the Silver Rocket grill. It's got that cold smoker box attachment that goes on the vents on the front, and
Right.
I've still got that in there. I haven't used that yet, but
Yeah.
that's coming up pretty soon here. I'm gonna let you know how that goes.
And Russ, this pellet grill that I recently bought, this Camp Chef Woodwind Pro, it has a fan only mode, so I can put a smoke tube in there and then just run the fan only on the pellet grill, which gives me nice, beautiful air circulation with the smoke. It's the best cold smoking setup I've got.
Yeah, Derek did that. He wanted that smoker. They reached out to me. I said, I don't want it, Derek. He goes, well, go ahead and get it. I'll do the video. They only wanted one video. And then he turned around and sold it for $800,
He got the Camp Chef?
Yeah, the Pro with the little slide out drawer. But
yes, man, that out of all that's the 7th pellet grill that I've had, and it's my favorite one. I get better results off of that than any of the other pellet grills I've had in the past. And also, oddly enough, out of the 7 pellet grills that I've had, I've only bought 2 of them. The rest of them have been provided to me, but that one I bought, and I bought that one because I believed in it. After looking at it, I said, I got to have that. And I'm still totally stoked with that thing.
I guess I feel a little obligated to the Lone Star Grills. I had the Lone Star Grills pellet grill and everything, and I've worked with them for years. Yeah. And I didn't want to be behind that grill. So if you want to do one video, then you can keep it if you want. But he did smoked cheese on it. It did fine, man.
Yeah.
And he utilized that smoke box. He got it up and then used that fan only, and it provided enough, to keep the wood going without overshooting the temps.
It does great, man. I have actually, one of the things people complain about pellet grills is you don't get enough of a smoke profile. That Woodwind Pro with that smoker box is fully capable of over smoking something, because the very first thing I did on mine, of course, was some beef ribs, and I was a little heavy on my smoke. I was heavier than I like.
Yeah. Lone Star Grills just come out with these wood chips that have been really cut down, smaller than a dime. I mean, Greg did a video on it, and he's mixing that 50-50 with pellets, and which the LSG gives a good smoke profile anyway, because of the way they got that fireboard tricked into running like an offset. Smokes the whole time. It don't cut in and out. It's constantly smoking. It's a good thin blue smoke, but it's constantly putting it out there. But anyway, he did a couple of videos using the chips, and I haven't tried it, but he says it gives it even a closer taste to a real offset,
Right.
But,
awesome. Well, I apologize to everybody that's been watching here, because my wife's not here, and I've been having a hard time keeping up with the posts in the group here.
I was reading a little bit that Anthony, what's his name? Anthony, I can't even pronounce it. But he was saying that's scary that I have that right beside your computer. He was talking about the dude lights.
Yeah. Talking about your bourbon.
Hey, John, I've got to log off. But hey, thanks for opening it up tonight.
Hey, Jason, thanks for joining us.
Hey, you guys have a great one.
Yeah, thanks. Mike, the brisket technique, I have done something similar. My brisket technique's a little bit different, because I like to do I've enjoyed the results that I'm getting on brisket with the foil boat rather than a full wrap.
I'm going to grab a beer. I'll be right back.
Okay. I like the foil boat technique on the brisket a little bit better than a full wrap, because on my brisket, I like to get a little bit firmer bark. I like a little firmer bark on that than I do on a pork butt. So, and honestly, I'm bored with brisket. I don't know when I'll do another brisket. I probably won't do another brisket until I decide to break down and buy one of those gold grade Wagyu briskets from Snake River Farms, because I haven't cooked one of those, and I've heard so many amazing things about it. But I just don't. Brisket's not my favorite piece of beef. It's I know brisket's kind of a holy grail of sorts in barbecue, but I would much rather cook beef ribs, beef short ribs, or beef plate.
I
I
agree.
like the flavor so much better on that. Russ, I'm gonna get people mad at me because I'm starting to treat brisket like I treat turkey. No,
I'm
it,
the same way, John. It's like brisket's good every now and then, but
yeah,
what I ended up doing? I ended up like that last one. I took the whole brisket. We took a slice or two for the video to do like a taste or whatever, and I come back and I divided it up, vacuum sealed it, and I did videos with it. Like brisket enchiladas. I've
right.
done brisket grilled cheese sandwiches. That's the way I'd rather eat it.
Where you use it as an ingredient in something else. That's perfect. That's what I like to do. Some similar things. I'm working on a couple of projects now with leftover pulled pork, but it's one of these things. Brisket, in my mind, is a lot like turkey. It takes a good bit of work to make an excellent brisket, and in the end, it's still just brisket. And
Yep.
and everybody, I don't. And guys, this is just my opinion. I'm not telling you that brisket's no good, but for me, brisket's just not one of my favorite things. Uh, I would rather have beef ribs. In terms of the low and slow beef, let me have the beef ribs.
Well, I'm old enough to remember when brisket was really a throwaway piece, and
Yeah,
it wasn't until people, I guess Texas, began to cook it and figure out how to cook it, and when it began popularity. Now everybody's doing it, but Texas used to be known for the shoulder clod. That was
yeah,
Texas barbecue. Now they done drifted completely away from that.
right. Brian Brisket got popular well before Aaron Franklin showed up on the scene.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Aaron Franklin, I credit Aaron Franklin with making pink butcher paper popular.
yeah. He did do that. He did.
He's created a market that didn't exist prior to that. If you go online now, people will tell you you can't get a good bark on a brisket unless you use pink butcher paper. But let me tell you, the competition cooks up till that point, they were all doing just fine with aluminum foil, weren't they,
Yeah,
Russ?
that's right. Absolutely.
Yeah, but there's still a lot of them that won't go. I don't mess with the butcher's paper because I've tried it. I've got a roll of the paper sitting right here. I can see it, and I've cooked several briskets and wrapped in that. And the difference to me is so minute. I can't really tell the difference in what I'm getting with pink butcher's paper. But uh, brisket, when I first started cooking brisket, this would have been 10 or 12 years ago. Uh, I could buy a whole packer for $1.99 a pound.
Yeah,
That's about what brisket cost when I started cooking it. And during that 10 years, it's doubled in price. The full packers are now 369 to 399 a pound on a good day.
yeah,
Uh,
absolutely.
and the demand for it, the reason it's gone up is I guess the demand's gone up. And you're right, Russ. It was a throwaway cut, and it was getting ground into ground beef. That you can grind that flat and that point together, and you've got a pretty good fat content ground beef there for burgers, or even mixing it with other cuts. But uh, I've tried grinding brisket to make burgers, and let me tell you something: the flat is lean enough that it won't stay together when you cook it.
Yeah,
If you
it's real fibrous too.
Yeah, well, running it through the grinder tenderizes it okay, but the burgers I made out of brisket flat, they would fall apart. They just wouldn't hold together on the
With
grill.
enough fat to create an
Right.
emulsion. You know. I had there's someone Anthony is asking me, have I ever done a whole hog? Yes, I
Yeah.
have. Quite a few of them. Prior to YouTube, I used to raise hogs with another guy, and once a year we would raise one just for whole hog cooking. Now, I've got one on my channel, but it's not done the way we did it. The one I did on my channel, I used a La Caja China, the box,
Right.
which
That's
you
been a
don't.
while, hadn't it? I think I
Yeah,
remember that
that's
one.
probably been 6, 7 years
Yeah, I
ago. But
remember you doing that one.
yeah, it was fun, man. They cook in record time, but they're missing any kind of smoke or fire taste because all the
Yeah.
fire is on top of the lid. And it's more like pork roast. It tastes great. You lose that element using that Cajun microwave, as we call them.
Yeah. So the here in North Carolina, if you're familiar with barbecue culture, North Carolina's kind of known for whole hog.
Oh
And
yeah, Rodney
the,
Scott and all them. Yeah,
well, yeah, the thing is though, Russ, the people like that, but the way it's served here, I don't care for it because it's all served as chopped or sliced barbecue. There's no
yeah,
celebration of any individual parts of the animal. No ribs, no butts, no loins. It's
right.
all chopped and all mixed together and
Yeah,
all bathing in a vinegar sauce. And it's
yeah,
just
like a
not.
vinegar pepper sauce.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan of the concept. If I was going to cook whole hog, I would want to take my favorite parts out of it and have them as separate pieces. So
well, on competitions, you got to place that fire like up under the hams, up under the
yeah,
shoulders, and let all that other just kind of cook with radiant heat. There is an art to it, but like if you go to a competition, especially these one you see on TV like Pitmaster and all that, they
right.
want to sample different cuts of that whole hog. They want the loin. They don't want it to where it's shreddable or pullable. They want it intact. So it's really they
That
better
makes
be
it
on
even
their
more
game.
complicated to cook though, because when you're cooking a whole hog where you're going to end up chopping it and slicing it, you
Yeah.
don't have to pay as much of attention as to whether one part of it's overdone and one part of it's
No,
not.
you don't.
It's
It's
all
all
going to get
just
chopped and mixed together. I think
exactly.
forcing somebody to do what they're doing on those shows is too much because they don't even do that in a competition barbecue.
No, but that's what they do. They want specific cuts out of that.
Yeah.
They really raised the bar on it.
Dennis
But the
is
ones
asking if,
we did, we just pulled
yeah,
it all and, like I said, mixed it together. But one thing I did that I haven't seen nobody do it since, but I would lay them hogs on their back and I would butterfly it down the backbone, which people do,
mhm,
and I would find that main artery going into the ham. It will fork and go and feed the whole capillary system through the hams. But
yeah,
I would inject like a marinade into that main artery on each
yeah,
ham, different flavors, and
yeah,
you we cut the hoofs off on our hogs, and then when you see it squirting out the other end, you filled up every capillary. That's the
yeah.
best way to get it everywhere, is what I'm trying to say.
Oh yeah. Dennis is asking if a Wagyu brisket cooks the same as a prime. I think they probably do, but they're going to cook quicker. Uh, the Wagyu meat that I've cooked does cook faster than lower grades if the Wagyu quality is where it needs to be. And that's another thing I want to warn people off. Be careful when you see American Wagyu.
Yeah,
uh, you may or may not be getting what you think you're getting because there's no regulation here in the U.S. as to what you can call Wagyu. And when I see Wagyu ground beef in the case at Walmart for $8 a pound, it makes me ask a lot of questions.
yeah, me too.
I don't buy much meat from Walmart. The only meat I buy from Walmart is the baby back ribs that I like. They got it's not Smithfield. I'm trying to remember which company it is that makes those that Jeff and I buy. They're called extra meaty, and they really are. If you dig around in the case, I can find racks of baby back ribs that weigh 5 to 5.5 pounds, and the short bone end of those things are absolutely amazing. They're off the hook. So, but
Yeah,
yeah,
I've worked with different companies. I worked with a company called Hassel Cattle Company, and they're big into the comp world and everything. But their Wagyu, it's an American Wagyu or Texas Wagyu, and
mhm.
they do breed their Wagyu with a thoroughbred Japanese Wagyu with
Yes.
Black Angus.
That's called F. I think that's called F1 Wagyu. I've got a local place here that does that, and I've
Yeah,
bought some meat from them, and it's crazy. It's incredible. I've cooked some tri-tips from them, and I've cooked some beef ribs from them, and it is amazing.
Yeah,
but it is a 50-50 breed of,
Yep.
just like you said, Japanese Wagyu and Black Angus.
To
So
me, instead of that extreme marbling like you see on like pure Wagyu, this looks more like a real high end prime.
yeah,
And they can, the thing about it is, prime, they have to grade that. USDA has to grade it to
correct.
determine if it's prime. But with their breeding, every time it's going to be that prime, or it's going to look
Well,
like high
uh,
end prime.
have you cooked some of the Porter Road stuff?
I have,
I
yeah,
think Porter Road fits into that category you just described.
yeah,
Most of the stuff I've gotten from Porter Road turns out like that.
yeah.
It's not. They don't have theirs is not graded, but it's in terms of when you look at it, the marbling is usually
Really
off
good.
the hook.
Yeah, it
They're
is.
they've got some incredible beef up there.
Yeah, I tell you what, I've used crowd cow before to get meats from different farms, and you can pick the farm you want it to come from. I think it's something Glen Farms. They actually supply meat to the White House, and
right.
I tried some of their meat. It was really good. But I haven't ordered from them in a couple of years. But it's a good way to get meat, or it used to be.
Right. So, all right. Well, I got to get things wrapped up. I've got a few things left to do before I call it a night.
I hear you.
Russ, I appreciate you jumping in with me. Jeff, my regular sidekick's out of town tonight. My wife's out of town, so
Yeah,
it's just me tonight.
it's always me. My wife's at work. She won't get home till 10 o'clock tonight.
Are you
I'm here.
still jumping on live occasionally?
I haven't in a while, but you just never know about me. I
Yeah.
just all of a sudden get a wild hair and I just do it. But
Yeah.
I don't do
Well,
it on no regular basis.
I'm going to try to get back to a regular Thursday, but I've got to do some work. I've got to figure out a way to get some more people to come on with me that are that have some content they can bring as a product we can talk about. So
I
the
really
guy
wish
from
you would get Greg on here one of these nights. That'd be fun to
well,
watch.
I need to talk to Greg again. I had Greg scheduled to come on here one time before, and he had something come up, and he had to cancel. And I haven't gotten back with him to get him on here. So
Okay.
uh, maybe I'll shoot Greg a note sometime and see if he's still interested in doing that. Um, he had a family emergency that kept him from being able to be on that night, and yeah, but Greg would be a lot of fun. I've been semi following Greg. I haven't followed him. I haven't looked at all of his video content lately, but I have. I've seen about every other video he's put out, maybe in the last couple of months. But
Yeah.
it's
He's got that ballistic burgers now too. He's had it for about three or 4 years now.
right. Yeah, I don't watch as many of those, but I enjoy some of them. I remember when Greg first started doing the copycat burgers, and some of them were off the hook,
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
and some of them were just crazy. But
That's the reason he started this other channel, because he didn't want his main channel to just be all burgers,
right,
even though he kind of led it in that direction. But
yeah,
they're surprisingly doing really good compared to the size of the burgers channel compared to his main channel. He
right,
gets the same kind of views off that smaller channel. So
yeah,
that's good. Double down.
awesome. All righty. Dennis said, "Well, I get Troy back on here." Yeah,
Yeah.
Troy come back on. I had Troy and Justin on at the same time. I had both of them on together one
Oh,
night.
really? I
Yeah,
had
that was a
missed
lot
that.
of fun. Yeah, it
Troy.
wasn't long. It wasn't long after they had done this little barbecue tour. Uh, it's been a while, but I had both of them on. That was a lot of fun. Justin's not making as much content as he used to. He slowed
No,
down a
and
bit.
Troy hadn't done anything in almost a year.
Yeah. So
He moved to New Mexico. I heard he got rid of all his smokers and pits. So we'll see if he ever gets back into it.
Well, did he buy a house with a pool?
I don't probably, but I don't know
Because
that
one
for
of,
sure.
one of my favorite videos of Troy was doing a cannonball into that pool in his backyard.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to get on him and see what he's up to. I'll
Oh, yeah.
give Troy a call one day, and I've still got Troy's phone number. I guess I don't guess it's changed.
I don't
So
think so.
yeah,
Yeah. All right, John. Well, I'm gonna
right.
ease out of here. Good talking
Yeah.
to you.
I appreciate you jumping in here with me, Russ, and have a good one. You guys
All right, man.
have a
Later.
good one, and we'll see you next week.